Welcome to Manifesting a Life. Today I'm going to talk about relationships. When I was younger, I always had boyfriends. Always going out with people, with guys, but they never lasted more than like 3 months. We just kind of got tired of each other. No big fights or anything. We just drifted apart and went on to somebody else. And that was fine with me. I didn't love them. In fact, I had never fallen in love. I didn't know how it felt to fall in love. And it got to be a point where I decided that maybe I couldn't fall in love. And maybe I should just look for somebody I felt like I was compatible with, that I could just live with for a good portion of the rest of my life. Well, at the same time, I had become kind of disillusioned with the church I was going to, the denomination. I was raised Southern Baptist, and that's where I was going. They had a big, huge singles department at this church I was going to, but some of their beliefs were not congruent with what I felt in my heart was true to me. And of course, your own beliefs are always the right beliefs. So I decided to look around and see other denominations. And I'd heard that my dad's family had come from the Methodist. So I decided to check out the Methodists. But the one thing that really bothered me about the Methodists was that they sprinkled, and I was used to the Baptists doing the immersion for baptism. So that was really a stigma for me about changing churches. But the first sermon I heard at a Methodist church that I went to was on baptism. He explained what baptism was, why there are these different versions of baptism, what each one meant. Each one had their own meaning. And it just cleared the air for me. It just cleared it all up. Today, I could not tell you, if my life depended on it, what those differences were. But at the time, it just made everything okay. I said, okay, I can do this. And so I started looking around for other Methodist churches and, which ones had good singles departments, And I found this one church. It had 2 singles departments. I went to one Sunday, and they were very active, and I was really interested in the group, but they said, why don't you try the younger group? You really fit the age group of the younger group. So the next Sunday I came back and I tried the younger group. I was about 31 at the time. So I tried out the other group, and there was a guy in there who had an airplane who liked to take people up flying when he went. He liked showing people about the flying. He had his own plane, and he passed around this sheet of paper, said, write your name and phone number if you're interested in going up with me. And of course, I wrote my name and number down there because, yeah, that sounded like fun. And then that afternoon, right after the group met, they invited anybody that wanted to stay after and eat on the sandwiches and chips that were left over from a meeting they had on Friday for the singles. And so I stayed, and so did this other guy. And we fell into conversation, and we talked about science fiction that we've read, and we talked about cats. I had 2, and he had 4. So a man that has cats can't be all bad. And we talked about gas turbine engines, because I worked on gas turbine engines as an engineer, and he was an engineer too at Kelly Air Force Base. Well, that went pretty well. And then that afternoon, guess what? He called and said that he was going to take the plane up, but I'd be interested in going flying with him. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And then he said that there's 2 other women that are going to be coming up with us. And I thought, okay, that's fine. Well, all the way over to his house, I kept thinking, there are no 2 other women. Nobody's going to show up. It's just going to be me and him. And sure enough, the other 2 never showed up. Now, he claims that people would say they would come, and then they never did. But I kept thinking, yeah, right, sure. And so even today, he still claims there were 2 other women that said they were going to come up. And I'll trust him on that. He's not one to lie, so he would Okay, I'll give them that, but I just like the other story better. So one thing I want to know is, were my guides or somebody, God, my astral self, leading me to change churches? Or are they leading me to meet Paul? Because after 3 months, I knew he was who I wanted to marry. Because, I was still very, very interested in him after 3, 4, 5 months. So, yeah, we were married about a year and a half after we met. But there were also some things that were very interesting, is that I think we did have a contract on the other side. And that's why the universe was trying to get us together. And on the other side, we're given clues when we meet people that are going to be significant in our life, whether they're teachers, partners, working relationship partners, or something like that. Well, I was thinking, every time I went out with somebody, I would always see if our strides matched, see if we had the same walking stride. Never did, until I met Paul. We had the same stride. And he said that he was looking for somebody with red hair. Now, I didn't have red hair. However, I had just dyed it before I started going out looking at Methodist churches. I had dyed it a dark auburn color. It's so funny, right after I dyed my hair, I went home to visit my parents, and my oldest brother was there. And they didn't say anything about my hair. And then we all decided to go visit my other brother. We piled on the car, went over to his house. We came in and sitting down and talking with him some. And he said, "Did you do something with your hair?" So he was the only one that actually said anything about that. So I was always amused about that. So something also told me to change my hair, to dye my hair, which is interesting because I wasn't used to dyeing my hair. It wasn't something I was brought up doing. So my question is, did I create this? Was I led to it? I really feel like I was led to it. Like, I don't know, maybe it was my astral self that was leading me to it, or maybe it was spirit guides leading me to it. I wonder if I'm very leadable then. But, and I fell in love. I had never fallen in love with anybody before, and I fell in love with him. My one and only love. So that's about relationships. So I'm asking you, if you're struggling with relationships, are you letting yourself be led to make changes that might lead you to somebody? Maybe you're meant to be more of a free spirit, because being married does kind of tie you down to things, and you have to consult each other for major decisions. You're not such a free agent anymore. So if you like this story, you want to hear more, make sure you have subscribed, hit the bell, and you'll be notified when you go into YouTube that I have a new one out. And thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.